Okay, so get ready to dive into madness, but not the spooky kind. We're going deep on a book, The Logic of Madness. This guy, Matthew Blakeway, he's got this whole theory. Basically, even crazy makes sense in a way.
Yeah, Blakeway, he doesn't mess around right out the gate. He's calling mental illness like self-destruction, but cranked up to 11.
See, that's where I'd be like, hold on. I binge watch bad TV when I'm stressed, doesn't everyone? So where's the line?
That's the thing. Blakeway's saying those self-destructive bits, we all got them. But
Hmm.
mental illness, it's like those tendencies go haywire, compulsive, repeating. But still, he says, it's rooted in logic, just kind of gone off the rails.
Okay, gotta stop you there for a sec. Logic. You're saying there's logic to, like, someone so anxious they gotta wash their hands 50 times. How does that make sense?
That's Blakeway's whole deal. He's looking at humans like we're crazy complex computers, and computers, their wiring gets messed up, the calculations go wrong, right?
So my brain's trying to do math, but keeps using the wrong numbers.
Exactly. And to figure out these miscalculations, Blakeway talks about uh, emotional drivers and inhibitors.
Lay that on me.
Okay, imagine a lion going after a zebra. The lion's starving, that's its driver, pushing it to hunt. But zebra's got a mean kick that's an inhibitor, makes it hesitate. Our brains, they're weighing this stuff constantly, like that lion calculating its next move.
So my emotions are like the input for the brain's math problem.
You got it. And most times, we're in what Blakeway calls normal mode. Brain's balancing those inputs, things are cool, but then there's binary mode.
Uh-oh, that sounds intense. What kicks that in?
You know that feeling? You nail something, big win, dopamine rush. Blakeway says that can flip us into this binary mode. We hyperfocus on one driver, inhibitors get ignored.
So if normal mode is the good equation, binary mode is like tunnel vision on one answer, even if it's wrong.
You got it. And that's where things get interesting or, well, in mental illness, kind of messy. This binary mode thinking, it shows up big time in compulsions. Blakeway, he compares it to, believe it or not, a thermostat on the fritz.
A thermostat. Now, that's an analogy I can get behind.
Yeah.
So walk me through this thermostat situation. Okay, so my brain's like, a busted thermostat when I'm stuck in a compulsion. I'm all ears. Lay it on me.
All right, picture this, your thermostat. It's in the living room, right? Controlling the heat for the whole place. But you get this feeling like, man, it's way too hot in here. So you go and what do? You shut off the radiators in that room right there.
Makes sense so far.
So now that thermostat, it's thinking, brr, freezing in here. Gotta crank the heat. But here's the thing, no matter how much heat the rest of the house gets.
That living room's going to stay an icebox.
Bingo! System's working its tail off, but it's fighting the wrong problem. Like, you're blaming the furnace when really you just closed the vent by mistake.
Oof, yeah, I feel that. So with compulsions, it's the same deal. My brain's zeroed in on the wrong fix.
Exactly. There's this urge, right? This feeling that's off. But the way you're trying to deal with it, totally missing the mark. That urge, it doesn't go away. So the behavior, it gets stuck on repeat, and bam, compulsion city.
Okay, so that's messed up, but I kind of see the logic in how it gets there. But what about when we're talking impulses? Those split-second things, no thought at all. That's got to be different.
You're right, totally different vibe. Blakeway says compulsions, they're about misidentified urges, yeah. Impulsivity, though, that comes from when we suppress the outward signs of what we're feeling.
Wait, so by holding back our emotions, we make it harder to even know what they are? That's counterintuitive.
Counterintuitive, but true. Think about it. How do we learn about emotions in the first place? By seeing them, right? Baby cries, someone soothes them, someone beams a smile, we smile back. It's those outward expressions that teach us what an emotion looks like from the outside in.
But when those outward signs get shut down,
You end up with folks who never learned the language of their own feelings. And that, my friend, is a breeding ground for impulsivity. Let's say, hypothetically, you grow up, anger's just not okay to show. Ever.
oh, I know that family.
So you might feel anger physically, yeah, heart racing, that tense up feeling, but without that learned connection, those sensations to the word anger, to what it means.
Your brain's working with incomplete data.
Exactly. Like we were saying before, you're trying to solve the equation, but crucial info is missing. No wonder the answer's wonky, and that wonky answer, often it's impulsive behavior. We react not from understanding I'm angry, but this jumble of signals inside that we don't get.
So compulsions are trapped in their loop, impulses toss logic out the window. Where do delusions fit into Blakeway's theory then?
This is where things get really wild. Blakeway argues our brains aren't just calculators, they're full-on simulators, creating models of ourselves, the world, everything. Remember that story you told about feeling a physical thing just from imagining something?
Oh, yeah. When I pictured myself wiping out and my legs went numb, even though I was safe on the couch. So weird.
And that is Blakeway's point, in action. Your brain wasn't just thinking about falling, it was simulating it. Sensations, the whole 9 yards.
You're saying it's like my brain ran a VR program of me eating it on the sidewalk, just from thinking about it.
You got it. And while most of the time these simulations are useful, like when we mentally rehearse a presentation or something, Blakeway suggests they can also be the starting point for delusions.
Okay, hold on. How does something helpful, like mentally prepping for a speech, turn into something potentially harmful, like a delusion? What flips the switch?
That's the million-dollar question. And to get there, Blakeway starts digging into the nature of reality itself. It's about to get deep, trust me. And this is where his ideas, they go way beyond just mental illness, into how we understand being human at all.
So my brain's this supercomputer, right? Not just processing info, but building whole simulations of reality. But if he can make me feel things that aren't real, man, how do I even know what's true anymore? This is getting kind of freaky.
Yeah, it really makes you question things, doesn't it? And this is where Blakeway, he gets into some deep, deep stuff.
Yeah.
We're talking free will, the whole shebang.
Okay, free will. That one's been messing with philosophers forever. But how does it connect to, like, compulsions, simulations, all that?
Well, think about it. If our brains are just running these calculations based on our genes, our experiences, all those drivers and inhibitors, how much choice do we really have?
You're saying our choices aren't as free as we like to think. That it's all kind of decided by what? Our brain's programming.
That's Blakeway's argument, yeah. What we experience as free will, it might just be the outcome of all those calculations, happening way faster than we're aware of.
Wow. Okay, to be honest, that's a lot to take in. But if free will is kind of shaky,
Mm-hmm.
what about morality? Are ideas of right and wrong just like more biological programming too?
Another big one, right? Blakeway suggests maybe morality, it's less about consciously choosing to be good. Maybe it's more about what helped us survive as a species way back when. The stuff that benefits the group, it sticks around, Gets woven into our biology, our social rules.
So instead of deciding I'm going to be good, it's more like our brains learned. Cooperation, empathy, not stealing someone's lunch. That stuff leads to better outcomes.
Bingo. Those behaviors, they get so ingrained, so tied into society working, that we start calling them good or moral, even if it all started back with basic survival instincts.
That's a pretty different way of looking at things. And it makes you
Yeah.
wonder about, well, folks who are struggling with mental illness, if their brains aren't doing the normal thing, the simulations are off. Can we really say they're responsible for their actions the same way?
Big, big question. And Blakeway doesn't pretend to have all the answers. But what he does do is make us rethink those lines we draw between sane and insane, good and bad. Maybe it's not so clear-cut after all.
Yeah, it's like he's pushing us towards, I don't know, a more human way of looking at behavior. We're all just doing our best with what we've got, right?
Absolutely. And as freaky as it might seem, those ideas about free will, about morality, I think they lead us to a kinder place, more compassion for ourselves and for others, too.
So where does this leave someone listening, right? They're like, all right, my brain's a simulator, free will's wonky. Now what? What's the takeaway?
I think Blakeway would say it's not about throwing our hands up and saying, well, guess I'm not in control anyway. It's about understanding the forces at play so we can work with them, not against them.
Right, like recognizing when my brain might be feeding me a bogus simulation,
Yeah.
when my logic's stuck, when I need to really figure out what's driving me, even if it's buried deep.
Exactly. It's about that self-awareness, understanding these wild, messy, incredible brains we've got.
And hey, maybe that understanding, that's what leads to a little more kindness in the world, a little more empathy all around.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Because in the end, we're all in this together, right? Navigating this crazy thing called life with the same basic equipment.
That's it for this deep dive into the mind with Matthew Blakeway and his Logic of Madness. If you're up for a thought-provoking look at what it means to be human, this book is definitely worth checking out.